everybody, I'm Laura Trump coming to you from Trump Tower in New York City. As you know, the disloyal opposition in the Democratic Party continues to block President Trump's America First agenda. For instance, at the current rate, it would take 9 years for all Trump appointments to get confirmed by the Senate. And just this week, opposition mounted against the president's appointment of Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State, despite his incredible qualifications. Joining me to discuss the Democrats and their obstruction against the Trump agenda is former Special Assistant to the President, Marc Lotter. Hey, Marc, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Laura, thanks for having me.
Marc, let's listen to what the president had to say recently about Mike Pompeo.
I think Mike Pompeo will go down as one of the great Secretary of States. And by the way, he just left North Korea, had a great meeting with Kim Jong-un, and got along with him really well, really great. And he's that kind of a guy. He's very smart, but he gets along with people. So I think that Mike will be in good shape. We'll see what happens. You know, a lot of people are predicting other things, but I have a feeling it's going to work out very well, and I think our country really needs him. He's going to be a great leader. Thank you very much.
Now, fortunately, the Senate passed his confirmation out of committee. But, Marc, how can the Democrats justify opposing this nominee?
It's just outrageous. I mean, it flies in the face of just historical norms that both the parties have always come together when it comes to national security and foreign affairs. Let's remember, Secretary Clinton and Secretary Kerry were both confirmed with 94 votes. These were two former presidential candidates that lost their elections, and clearly Republicans do not have a lot in common or agree with them on many policies, but we still came together as a nation, and it just shows you that this Congress, the Democrats in this Congress, will stop at nothing to oppose President Trump.
Now, Pompeo isn't the only one being obstructed. For example, the president's appointment for our ambassador to Germany is being blocked as well. And Chancellor Merkel is visiting the White House again this week. What is your reaction?
It just puts the president in that much more of a difficult position when we're trying to negotiate with our allies and our friends on very serious issues like strengthening the terrible Iran deal, that we don't have an ambassador there representing our country in Germany and in many other places representing our best interests. Here's a historical fact. Over the last 4 presidents, in the first terms of their administrations, there were 32 filibusters on confirmations. In 15 months, this president has had 80 filibusters. That's more than all the former presidents combined in the last 4. So it just shows you what they will do. They will stop at nothing to stop the president from pushing forward his agenda that the American people sent him to Washington, D.C. to accomplish.
I always say, Marc, that they would rather see the country fail than see the president succeed. And this is, exactly to that point. What we see happening right now, what the Democrats are doing, is really detrimental to our country as a whole. And I hope people are paying attention when they head to the voting booth in November for the midterms, because this is a little ridiculous. The stat that you just gave is unacceptable, in my opinion. And, I really do think the Democrats are putting themselves in a really bad position here, because it's really clear to everybody what is going on here. Now, of course, Democrats are not the only reason the president can't get confirmations. You just brought up the Senate filibuster rule, which requires 60 votes to pass most legislation. Why won't the Senate GOP apply 51 votes for passage of other legislation like they did to confirm Neil Gorsuch?
There are some arguments in terms of why they won't do that, but I'll tell you, the one area where I think there's going to be wide agreement is that we need to do that when it comes to government appropriations bills. As we saw with the horrible omnibus bill that the president signed but had very serious concerns about, the fact that the Senate cannot do their job in appropriating the bills that are sent to them by the House in the normal course of business is what results in these ginormous bills with massive spending and very little control over it. We need to at least change the rules when it comes to government spending, and we can have that policy discussion later on. But it's true, they're using every tool at their disposal to block all the progress that the president wants to make for our country.
Now, fortunately, the Constitution is clear that the president is responsible for foreign relations. Over 2 weeks, President Trump is conducting bilateral meetings with the leaders of Japan, France, and Germany, discussing major issues such as Syria, North Korea, and Iran. How do you think the president's leadership is changing foreign affairs, Mark?
It's very dramatic. And I'll tell you, about a year ago at this time, when I was the vice president's press secretary, we were actually overseas in Asia. And every world leader that the vice president met with, when the cameras turned off and went away, they all turned to the vice president, and they were thankful that we finally had a president in the White House who meant what he said and was willing to back it up with American strength. And that gave our allies and friends a sense of comfort that when we talk about getting tough on terror or dealing with rogue regimes that threaten our security, that they know that this is not just a president who's going to talk tough, he's going to back it up. And so I think what we're seeing play out on the world stage, whether it's North Korea, whether we're seeing our allies come together to deal with the horrible Iran deal, or the president's success in dealing with our allies and friends on straightening out these bad trade deals that have been negotiated, we're seeing the president's leadership play out. We're seeing the world react to it, and it's benefiting the American people.
Yeah, we know with this president, a red line is a red line, and you do not cross it because he will take action. That is for sure. Now, last week, the RNC and the Trump campaign released fundraising reports for the first quarter. And once again, very proud of this, we raised the majority of money from small contributions, small donors. Don't you think, Mark, that this is another sign that voters are fed up with Democrats blocking the Trump agenda?
Absolutely. And more people have money in their pockets, and it's good to see that they're sharing some of that with the RNC and with the re-election campaign. But this just underscores what we've been saying, Laura, and you just said it, that people see the progress we are making in this country, whether it's on the economy, whether it's having more money in your pocket because of tax cuts and bonuses and raises, or where we stand again on the world stage as a leader. People are reacting to the president's leadership. I think it's showing up in fundraising. It's going to show up in the polls. And the things that the voters have got to remember is, while they may be frustrated with things here and there, like the omnibus bill, the answer is electing more Republicans, more people who stand lockstep with the president,
right.
And more Democrats is not the answer.
Yeah, it's definitely important that those Republicans are Trump-supporting Republicans. And I think we could see, as great as it's been already in the country since the president took office, I think we're going to see such incredible things going forward, and hopefully for a second term for this president, if he can get Congress behind him. I mean, there's really no limit to where I see things going for our country. Mark, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for breaking down the latest efforts of the Democrats blocking President Trump's America First agenda, and thanks for all you do every single day.
No, thanks for having me, Laura.
And thank you for joining me as well. While the Democrats try to block President Trump, he has the greatest advantage of all, the support of patriotic Americans everywhere. That's the real news for today. I'm Laura Trump from Trump Tower in New York City. Goodbye, everybody.